Mastermind with Neil Schwartz, our special guest. Where'd he go? There you are, Michael. Michael
Yes.
Atkinson from Cleveland, Ohio, right?
Yes, correct.
Fantastic. Very, very cool. Well, we're excited to have you on board today. We thank you for coming here and sharing some ideas. Are we going to see you at the retreat in a couple of weeks?
I believe so.
All right, good. Looking forward to it. Make sure that we connect, and I properly thank you for doing this for us. It's a big deal.
That sounds great.
So, Michael, do us a favor, kind of check in with us, give us an idea, the Reader's Digest version of how long in the business, how you got started, how you connected up with Mike, etc.
So I was licensed. I've been in the business since 1990. I was licensed when I was 23 years old. So I came right out of college, tried a job for all of a cup of coffee, and then got my real estate license, quit the job, and I've been selling. I really have been selling houses since I was 23.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Very good.
I found myself probably around 27, 28 at running really hard with buyers, and probably from the time I was 27, 28 till about 38, I was probably somewhere in that 28 to 35, 36 deals a year, running my tail off with about probably 70 to 75% buyer sales, 20, 25% sellers. And I just kind of hit that ceiling.
Right.
So the reason I got involved with Mike is I looked around and I thought, well, I can't keep doing this. Plus I was bored. I mean, open the lockbox. This is the living room, kitchen, dining room. Do you want to buy it? There's not a lot of skill in the buyer thing. So
Right.
I was a little bored, but I was making a nice living here in Cleveland, Ohio. So when I looked around and found Mike online and jumped in.
So when you say you found Mike online, no one referred you to him. You had heard the name before? Nothing?
Nothing.
Well, how did you choose him over the other 10 or 15 other options?
I just called and I talked to Mike DeHojos. Is it DeHojos?
DeHoya.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a great conversation, and I thought, so I really didn't. I was just at that point in my career I had been looking for a little bit and just kind of stuck. So when I spoke with him and I did a little bit of research online, I thought, all right, I'll try this. At the time I was making, a decent living. So I'm like, all right, well, I got, there was no, one-on-ones or anything. It was all Premier. So I just jumped in and thought, all right, what's the worst case scenario? If I learn to sell, if these guys teach me how to sell 2 houses, it'll pay for itself. And knowing me, I'll try and get more out of it and everything else. So, but I was ready. I was exhausted, tired being stuck.
Right. Yeah. You were at this level, whatever that level is for you.
Yeah.
And you were sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Exactly. Yeah.
I understand. I get it. Okay. So where did the business come from? I mean, you started cold. You didn't have a database. Nobody taught you about for sale by owners and expireds. You were just working buyers. And where did they come from? Where did they come? So think about this. You're a new agent. We have new agents on here. Some of them are open or familiar with Mike. Some of them have worked for Master, so they're very familiar with what we're talking about. But you're brand new. I mean, where did you get your business?
So that's a great question. So as I used to joke, none of my friends had homes to sell, and none of my friends could afford to buy homes because they were right out of college.
Exactly.
So the first year or two, they didn't know what the hell to do with me. So they stuck me in open houses, right? And they said, go out and meet people at open houses. But I really did not have any success, nor did I care for open houses. Okay. So I tracked, 2 or 3 sales, that I had through the efforts of an open house. And the problem was always from the time I met them until the time they actually purchased was 8 to 13 months later. So a lot of the people who walked through open houses back in the early 90s were just kicking the tires, and it was exhausting trying to hold on to them for 8 to 13 months later when they finally made a decision. So I kind of realized in the first couple of years that I'm doing 60, 70 open houses a year, but with the time I have invested in holding on to these people, I think the guy at Gastown made more per hour than I did. So I thought that's not a way this is never going to get me. Plus I hated it. I just hated it. I'm like, so yeah, so I had to figure out, and I've always found, as Mike says, time and time again, buyers were always easy to find, those just kind of came my way. So whether it was, friends, parents, or I had a sign and they called on the sign and they didn't like that. So I held on to them and I sold them something else, is probably how I was doing it. But these are the years, and it went on for, longer, I'm embarrassed to say, that at the end of every year, when I would sell 32 homes a year, I would always go through that December, feeling. And I'm sure maybe a lot of the people on the call today, think to themselves, I sold 25 homes, but I have no idea how I did it. And, I can't repeat it because it just kind of came my way. And that's a very nerve-wracking way to live. And so that too, I was in that cloud,
We're looking for a predictable and duplicatable way of putting this whole thing together.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Very, very good. So working with buyers sounds like your first 10 or 12 years in the business. Shifting gears, I mean, you went to go start to take listings from a buyer's agent. What did you do? I mean, you just go right out there and door knock and phone canvas and do expireds, or kind of what are the steps?
So I started when I started coaching. Ira was my first coach. And I just started using the system, and a lot of it was just changing my mindset. My mindset was for 12 or 13 years of just coming to the office, servicing buyers. So I really wasn't spending a lot of time looking and going after listings.
Okay.
I was kind of in that waiting for listings to call me. So the thing that really shifted it is I began to do call expireds, call for sale by owners. And that really started my road on my path as far as becoming more of a listing. Now it's just the opposite. I'm more 70% listing oriented, 30% buyers.
Good. How many transactions closed in 21?
I think I was 53.
Okay. And also a 70-30 split, more or less?
Right around there, yes.
Okay. So you're taking about 35 listings and closing the balance in buyers-ish?
Correct.
Okay. And where are you so far this year?
I'm at 37.
37 closed and pending?
Correct.
Okay, good. So
my goal this year is 7. I'm going to 70.
70?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you're certainly on track for it.
Yes.
So go ahead.
This is that pivotal time though. So I got to keep going. This is, not a time to take the foot off the gas.
So when you say pivotal, are you referring particularly to you've had a good first half and we don't know what the second half's going to be, or you're worried about the shift in the market? Or is there really been a shift in Ohio? Because you don't have the appreciation in Ohio that we do on the West Coast, I don't think.
Right. No, it's a totally different market. But yes, we too are, with all the next distraction out there in the marketplace that we seem to be living through these in the last couple of years. We're seeing our market shift as well.
Yeah.
But what I mean is that for me in the past, when I start out of the gate with a good, strong first half, it's great, but it also, I need to realize I'm not ahead. I'm just on target.
Okay.
And I have had a habit in the past with kids and distractions and everything else, just simply, saying, oh, I had a great first quarter, first half, I can take it easy, enjoy the summer. And the minute I do that, it just goes south on me.
Yeah.
And in Ohio, you have to, as Mike says, so much of our income is from February through October. So if you're taking your foot off the gas in May and June, you're going to see the results of that in December. So it's just becoming consistent. It's all goes back to consistency.
How much of that slowdown comes from complacency, Michael?
Oh, a lot, most of it. Yeah, all of it.
So 53 closed transactions last year earns you about how much money in Cleveland, Ohio? Gross.
Mid threes.
Okay. So you make around $300,000. What does a house cost?
I play in the between 2 and 5 range. $200,000 and $500,000. That's kind of my space.
So if somebody needs to buy a $500,000 house, which would be on the higher end of your space, they need to earn about how much?
You're in 175 area.
Okay, got it. All right. So so you earn basically twice that, okay, maybe a little more than the higher end of the price range that you're working at. So I could see where maybe, you might have a little nicer car, a little nicer place that you live, maybe a little bit more in the savings, et cetera, than the average person in town. I can see a little bit of complacency. What do you do to keep yourself out of complacency, for the balance of the year? Because you're doing pretty darn good here, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I'm fortunate enough. My wife stays at home and takes care of our household and our children and things. I have 3 kids. Everyone's in Catholic school or just leaving to go to college here. I got one who's going to college. So for the longest time, I struggled with that, very, very honestly. And, the response from my coaches has always been, you got to get your goals that you're excited about. And so I'm very excited about providing and taking care of, educations and going on vacations and things and providing a certain lifestyle that, to your point, has been pretty nice here in Cleveland, Ohio.
Right.
But it's always, just like I found myself in my 30s when I was looking to go to that next level, it's always a feeling of I could do more.
Okay.
I could do better. I can do better. And I think a lot of people on the call probably feel that way too. They're like, I know I can do better. Come on, I can sell more houses than this.
Right.
So that's what's great about going to the Mike Ferry events. You meet so many people and you walk away with the idea that, hey, he's just a real guy, just like me. There's not any huge magic going on here.
Yeah, except he sells 200 houses and I'm selling 53.
Right.
What the hell is going on here? And
yeah,
that's why we
one of the best things.
Exactly.
One of the things my coach told me to do years ago, which I have been doing ever since, is when I go to the Mike Ferry events, I go to the front of the room and I ask them 2 or 3 questions, the top agents. Right. And one of them said to me, well, the good news is you've learned how to make, $300,000 only working half a day. So he goes, if you apply that same discipline in the afternoon and maybe a Saturday morning, think about where you could go. And so, it's nothing like honest advice to kind of put things in perspective for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the people, what we say is it's the people you hang out with.
Yes.
That are going to help make the difference. Absolutely. Good stuff. Okay. So the market is changing. How do you see it changing in your area, your price points? I mean, have you had 50, 100% appreciation, in a couple of months? Have you seen some of that?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So we've seen in the last, interest rates went up in May, 0.5 point, and then in June, 0.75 point. So, in the first 4 or 5 months, I was running and gunning. I mean, I was listing them for $425, selling them for $525. I mean, 27 offers, 3 days on the market, 90 showings, all that, which that has settled down tremendously. So we're seeing in May and certainly here in June, the slowdown where we're still active, but all this buzz about interest rates and everything else is being discussed, and it's, I've been working on it with my coach to basically, come to the call with the good news is, and then going to something, positive.
Right.
So, because we did, to your earlier point, we did sell plenty of houses when interest rates were 7%, when they were 10%, when they were, so the sky's not falling, type thing. So, but that comes from, discipline and just basically keeping people in the frame of mind of, you can still find a great house. We can still get a good price for your house. The market still is a good market.
So Michael, do you role play and preview property on a regular basis?
I role play. I don't preview properties. Well, I preview it online, as much rolling through pictures and stuff, because I know all the neighborhoods and I've been doing this so long.
For a long, 30 years, you said, right?
Yeah. So I have a good idea of what the homes are going to be like.
Right.
Just from doing it so long.
But you still feel like you have to practice?
I do.
Tell me about that. I mean, what goes on there? What are you trying to accomplish there?
Do it just continues to build confidence and build, this one of the things I always, and I'm analytical, so one of the things I always struggle with was trying to make things perfect. I can't do anything until all the moons are in alignment and everything's,
all the pens are stacked up.
Yeah. And one of the nice things about role playing is you just learn to, whatever it is, I don't care. Whatever they say, when I first got involved in coaching, I was all about, oh my God, when they say this, what do I have to say? And, for the longest time, people said, it doesn't matter what they say. You're just, as long as you stay on script and keep going on and just acknowledge, repeat, affirm, and ask the next question, who cares what they say? It doesn't matter. You're just going to continue to lead them down. And the people who are motivated, those are the ones you want to work with. And the people who are not, well, then who cares? That took a long time for me to get comfortable and used to.
So you didn't have that in your first 10 or 12 or 15 years.
No.
Joining the organization, it was available to you, but you probably resisted it at the beginning, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So what was a turning point? Well, that's a huge question for all of us.
Yeah. A lot of it, for me, it was just simply what I was doing was getting this. So, and then I would go out and do it again, and it gave me this. So a lot of it was a real strong feeling that I know I can do better. And a realization of, look, what you're doing is producing 28 to 35 homes a year. So you're going to have to change and just shift your mind, take time and shift your mindset to I'm going to follow a system that's going to get me to 50 and then 60 and then 70 and then on from there.
Right. And that helped make that work for you so that you could use the scripts and dialogues? Yes.
And then, it's a good thing that when you say to people, some people say, oh, you got in the business when you're 23, you're lucky. There's pluses and minuses to everything. The challenge was I don't know anything about working a disciplined schedule. I do now. But, for the longest, as Mike says, the greatest thing is we're independent contractors. No one can tell us what to do. The worst thing is we're independent contractors. No one can tell us what to do. Right. And in my life, I never worked at a job like IBM or AT&T where I had to be there at a specific time. I took lunches. I had these very defined things. So that did not serve me. I always went in and kind of, like your typical agent, show up at 9:30, pick up the phone, make a couple calls at 10:30 till about 11:30, go to lunch, show houses in the afternoon, and you're done. Well, that doesn't get you where you want to go. Right. Period. Right. The other thing which happened in the 90s, and I think it still happens to a certain degree, is people in our industry celebrates too much for just doing your job. And the problem with celebrating is it takes you off your path, your schedule. So, if you sell a house, my first broker, they want to give you the parking space and put your name up and everything else. And you're somehow feeling like you did great, and you pause and you're going to celebrate and take your foot off the gas for a week. Well, when you do that for 52 weeks, you sell 18 homes a year. So I really had to shift my mindset from quit celebrating until the end. Celebrate at Christmas, when the year's over and you've hit your goal. But other than that, get right back on schedule and get back doing your job.
Michael, I don't know where you got that phrase, but that's dynamite. Because you've taken in those words and encapsulate my whole thing. And you're right. Everybody said, I got a listing, I'm going to do the listing dance. I got
Yeah.
a buyer deal, I'm going to do the buyer dance.
Yeah.
And you just don't go out and get the extra deal.
Yeah.
And the ones that don't do that stay focused like you do, make a bloody fortune, and everybody's trying to figure out how do they do that.
Right.
And it's
Right.
that's just, our industry celebrates too much for just doing your job. I love
Right.
that. Thank you. That's a mic drop for me now.
Yeah, it's true. And nobody else does it. I mean, other industries, doctors don't come out of surgery and all of a sudden take the week off. They go into the next surgery. An attorney doesn't come out of court and, he goes back to the office and goes back to work in the next. So, but in our industry, get a listing. Oh my gosh. And then, we're going to stop everything that we just did to get the listing and busy ourselves with all these other things. So, yeah.
We always say when you get your fourth listing, you go into the speaking business and compete with Mike.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
Right. But there's just our industry as a whole, I think, just this celebrate and make us feel like we did this big thing when all we did was what we were supposed to do.
We did our job. Good for you. That's great. Fantastic. Really, really good. What do you think your superpower is, Michael?
I've learned the best, as the $1 million word for me is next. And that took a long time to listen, to learn rather. So I think that, for the longest time, I spent too much time with people who are unmotivated and not ready to go because it's all I had right now. These are the 7 leads I have, and I've been chasing this guy for 13 months, but I can't let it go because I got 13 months left to, invested in. So I think that when I shifted my mindset to let go of people and just say next, just go on to the next one. If you find someone that's rude, fine, move on to the next one. You're going to meet all sorts of, and that's one of the things that role play does. It just, as Mike says, you don't say you don't care because, or you don't give a blank. So, but you say, I'm not attached to the outcome. So it's great when you get to a point where you're so good and you just know you're comfortable with the scripts, that they're just a conversation, that you don't care if they say, yes, come over, or no, I never want to sell my house again. You just go on to the next one, the next phone call, the next deal, whatever it is.
No, that's great. But Michael, how long did it take you to get the comfort of the scripts to get to next? I mean, was it a week, a month, 6 years? What was it?
It took me too long because I'm analytical. but that's again. But it really didn't. After you do something so many times, as Mike jokes and says, if I call you up, Neil, at 3:00 in the morning, I want you to be able to go, hi, thank you for having me over. I'm excited about getting your home for sale and getting it sold. You might have to take a quick walk through your home and you're off and running, right? But when you begin to reap the results of it and have success with it, then you really change your mindset from who cares what this guy says? I'm going to go on the next one. So, and you begin to make enough money and enough income that, at the end of the day, you're just going to keep going. So there's not any type of desperate, I got to make this sale or I got to make this work. There's just hey, this is my system. I work my system. If you're going to be motivated and, you meet all my standards and things, then great. That's what I'm looking for. If not, that's completely fine. And I'm off to the next one. So it's just that, but you don't get there by just, sitting, waiting and not having the confidence of knowing how to respond, knowing the scripts, knowing what you should be doing as far as time management and everything else.
I think that's fantastic. As an analytical, that must have been really difficult for you to comprehend and turn the switch, though, no?
Yes, or embarrassingly.
But I get it. However you did it.
Yes.
So
I have a brother who's a driver, and he said to me one time we were talking, and he said,
"You guys must be a lot of fun together."
Oh yeah, it's a blast. But he said to me, he said, you know, Michael, you'll make 38 decisions. And of the 38 decisions you make, 37, 36 of them are right. Me, I'll make 150 decisions and only 120 of them are right. So on a percentage basis, you're right, it's a lot more, but I'll make more money because I'm moving on faster. So
Moving on faster.
Yes, that was it was a good thing for me to hear because it made sense. And it helped me go on next. Don't try and, if they're not going to be motivated, if they're not the fish I'm looking for, then I go on to the next one.
Move it on to the next.
But that requires discipline because everybody, everyone wants to hold on to the side of the pool and yet still sell 50 homes a year. Sometimes you got to jump in, you got to go.
Right. Well, look, you're going from almost 60 to pushing 70 in a changing market. You seem like you got a handle on it and you've already got 37 or so under your belt. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to hit the 70, maybe even have a stretch goal, of 80. What the heck? Because a lot of the truth is a lot of our competitors are going to be leaving the business here any second.
Yeah,
they're not gonna put up with what's going on. It was one thing when it was hard to get a listing, but there was a hope if you got a listing, that sucker sold in a millisecond, right?
Right.
Now you could get, and this is happening, 3, 4, 5 listings and nothing's selling.
Right.
So we're back at a market where you have to take 10 listings to get to 2 sales, and there's just no way they're going to put up with that.
Well, in 2021, from like the beginning of the year till about April, I struggled with the prices here in Cleveland and what was happening.
Because they were moving up too fast.
Oh, they were moving up crazy, and I'm looking at sellers and saying, you can't. So I'm, the market analysis, when you come in and you say, this one sold for 325, this one sold for 330, this one sold for 335, your home is probably worth 330. And they meet with the next one who walks in and goes, yeah, let's try 390. And you're like, well, where's 390? And you're looking at all their paperwork and going, and they hire that person and the damn thing does sell for 390. That was very hard for an analytical to absorb what was going on. So no one cares how long you've been in the business. They want the money.
Right.
And that is what my 21 brought. It was me. So in 22, I worked with my coach Sydney, and she said, what happened was right about May, I started to get like, all right, the hell with this. I'm just gonna go for it and stop trying to be right all the time. The market, you don't know what the market's going to pay because people were paying such astronomical prices. And that I shifted my mindset right about May of last year and just started going, and I haven't stopped. I continue. So, there is a lot of, I would encourage all of us, myself included on the phone today, to just continue with the good news is, Neil, that we can and take them where you want to go.
Right.
Because they all want to talk about the recent, news and it's a lot of distraction in the market, but there's still homes that are going to sell, people that are needing to move, buyers that still generally want to buy. So we need to stay the positive, the good news is we can do this. The good news is so stay that motivating, agent.
That's a great thought. Another great thought. That's 2. Thank you. Very, very good. Michael, you take a few questions.
Sure.
All right. Fantastic. Okay. So questions for Michael, raise your hand, speak out, however you want to do it. But this guy's full of good stuff today. Who wants to go first? Anyone? Hello.
I have a question.
Please.
I'm not sure if you answered this, Michael, so my apologies if you did, but what are your lead sources that you're currently working?
No, he didn't. Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, Monica, I used to, expireds, for sale by owners, and I still do. But as we've all probably experienced, expires were non-existent for a long time, and they still really are. So for sale by owners, they know everything, right? So I go after expireds, but there's not a ton of them. I go after for sale by owners. My goal there is simply to kind of be there when they give up, is what I've learned. or be their their backup plan. I think, who was it? There's a great agent out of Indiana that taught me that phrase, that I kind of use that. Hey, I'd love to be your backup plan in the event if you can sell it yourself, great. But if you can't, but the primary source is my database. And I would say to everybody on the call, I did not spend enough time over the years building my database. Because that is just, and Lucy Ham is probably the most unbelievable agent. She's reached a point in her career and life, and I always love it because she says, yeah, I just go to work, to the office every day, and I call 15 friends. And then she has other people on her team they call, expires and everything else. But she's been doing it for a while, and she just calls them and talks to them, and everybody loves Lucy and gives her business. So the database will always be the gold mine. It's the only thing of value we really have.
So when did you realize that in your career, Michael, and kind of shift to start to build on that and take advantage of it?
It was probably in my 30s. I was every bit of 10 or 15. For the first 10 years, Neil, I would sell a bunch of houses. I paid top producer, I don't know, $39 a month for 15 years, and just dumped all my sales into top producer at the end of the year. Never called them and did anything, and then realized after 12 years, I have 12 years of working and I have no real definitive database. So that too was rather embarrassing. And I turned around and changed that. So now I'm calling them, and my challenge now is with them is there's so many different things to talk about that you want to be sensitive to that, but bringing them back to the, who do you know who might be thinking about doing something?
That's great.
Because I think it's easy with your database to fall into the kind of a buddy conversation and not the purpose of the call. The purpose of the call is, who do you know that I can help?
Right. Absolutely. Good information. Great stuff.
Michael, are you still using the Mike Ferry listing presentation verbatim?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Really? You didn't make the Michael presentation?
I never really had a real problem with, if you tell me to do something and I'm, so I don't know why you would.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Why don't you just, so I don't like, the older I get and the more mature I get in my business, the more I realize that I don't need to do 100 things really, really well. I need to do about 7 things exceptionally. And the listing presentation is certainly one of those things.
Great. Excellent. Good question, Fred. Thank you. Questions for Michael? Go ahead, Eddie.
Michael, what's your daily schedule, and how many people are in your team or people that work with you?
So I work the Mike Ferry, the Mike Ferry schedule as far as daily schedule. I'm in the office at 7. I'm on the phones between 7 and 7:30. I prepare for the day. I get everything ready. 7:30 to 8:30 is role play time. And then 8:30 to 11:30, I'm on the phones. From 11:30 to 12, I'm returning emails and calls. 12 to 1, I take lunch. 1 to 2, I'm doing lead follow-up. 2 to 3, admin. And then 3 to 7 o'clock at night, I'm either on appointments or I'm back on the phones.
Typically home at 7 o'clock most evenings?
Most evenings, yes.
Right. Got it. And how old are the kids? Kids are older, right?
Yeah. So I have my oldest is going into college, freshman in college. I have a junior and a freshman and a junior in high school and a freshman in high school.
For you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very nice. Excellent stuff. Okay. Other questions for Michael, please. Go ahead, Tyrone.
Yeah, when you were making that transition from, I believe you said from a buyer's agent to a seller's agent, what were some of the other strategies that you used to help keep your mindset strong, and what actually was the aha moment when you actually got to being more of a stronger listing agent?
I was just exhausted doing the business the way I did it. Mm-hmm. And I was ready for it. So there really wasn't, there was a very strong sense of, I know I can do this. I know the business. I know I can do this. I know people who are doing this, who I don't think are as professional as I am. But so it was just switching what I was doing in the days and then finding a system that I was going to be committed to and doing it. And the minute I started to have some success with it, well, then it was like, okay, I want to do that again. I'll do that again. So, yeah, if I could tell you anything as an analytical, don't overthink it, just do it.
Easier said than done.
I know it's, but you have to, yes. And that's why, and I'm still working on being excited about your goals, set the goals. I would encourage you too, to set the mini goals. So I have a whiteboard in my office that I used to have it set up for my, the monthly goals. Well, the problem with the monthly whiteboard I found is that when the first week rolls around, you have this mind like, oh, I got a month. So I changed it to weekly, and that helped me a lot, Tyrone. I mean because now, my goal every week is to go out and go on I want to get 2 listings and 2 buyer sales every week. So, and as soon as I set those appointments and stuff, then I keep going after that. And it's great because you have that peace of mind going, all right, I got my 2, I'm going to keep going. But set short-term goals have in conjunction with my, my yearly goals, of course, really was a good aha moment for me.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Go ahead, Lauren.
thanks. Do you nurture long-term leads? Like, do you have a system for nurturing long-term leads in your CRM at all?
Yes, I do. But I will, yes, I do, but I will also tell you that the long-term leads are for me, they're just not I haven't had as much success with them.
How do you differentiate them from your, like, say, a center of influence? Do you
Yeah, so what I'll do is just keep them updated. So if someone says to me now at the end of June, we'd like to do something next spring, from between now and next spring, I will call them twice a month, and it's just an informative call. So I would say, Neil, I'm just calling to keep you. I know I have you in my calendar for the first quarter next year, but I want to keep you updated. It's important to me that you're updated and abreast of what's going on in our real estate market. And just down the street from you, everybody loves to hear about a recent comp, right? A recent sale.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hope these values stay for when you guys are ready to make a move next quarter. So I'll start with the informative calls, and then every once in a while I do sprinkle in, Neil, is there anything at all that would cause you guys to move or want to move maybe a little earlier the next spring? If I found exactly what you're looking for, would you guys want to know about it? So you're peppering that in a little bit with your conversation. But from the time, from late June until, the beginning of probably the holidays, I would be just calling them with information. Because in the past, the minute we leave them alone, they're going to find somebody else, and then all of a sudden they're working with somebody else.
Yeah. So how is that approach different than how you approach your past clients and centers of influence?
Those people, when I call them, and I'm asking for people who are looking for business, looking to do something now.
So do you ask? I don't know. I get mixed up between. I'm analytical too, so I'm enjoying it very much.
I didn't notice.
Yes. So I'm sorry. What is your first name again?
I'm Lauren.
Lauren. So Lauren, I might say to you, Lauren, who do you know? We have an absolutely fantastic seller's market going on right now. Who do you know who might be interested in taking advantage of this and maybe making an extra $20,000, $25,000 on their home in this market? And then if you said, well, my friend Sue, and it was kicking it around, I actually was just talking to her about it. I go, would you mind if I gave her a call? Not would you have Sue call me, because Sue will never call me. Would you mind if I gave her a call and just had a very casual, no pressure, no obligation, just to keep her updated on the market and let her know what her options are? So that's how I'll handle that, as opposed to, just keeping them updated.
Super. And while you're doing your daily prospecting, how do you know when you're done? Do you reach a certain number, or is it a time factor?
That's a great question. Most of the time it's a time factor because I have a goal of a contact goal every day. And I know I have to go back at it. You know, my challenge is just like all of us is getting people to answer the damn phone, right?
What's your
Yeah.
magic number?
Yeah, 30.
Cool.
Yeah. So if I get it all done in the morning time, great. If I don't, I'm back at it. You know, most of the time or a lot of times, my admin, it takes 20 minutes. It doesn't take a whole hour. So I have between 2 and 3 in my schedule for administrative work that when I'm done at 2:20, I'm back trying to catch them or get them to answer the phone. Because for too many years, I made the mistake of calling individuals at the same time every day, and they don't answer at 9 o'clock. Well, here I go calling them again, 9 o'clock. So try them between, at lunchtime, try them between 2 and 3. A lot of people have some dead time where will pick up the phone in the afternoon. So and when I find out when they'll answer their phone, make a note of that. So, that someone answers their phone at 3:30 in my little, one and a half, in my little note, 3x5 card, they answered at 3:30.
So if you had an assistant, would you know what to tell them to do? Because it sounds like you pretty much do everything.
I do a lot, yes. And I had assistant for a long time, lost her at COVID, and I have not replaced her yet. And that's not to my advantage, believe me. But
I hear you.
yeah. So that to someone who's in my situation, staying on your schedule is that much more critical. But I designed it and set it all up where I have checklists for everything. So it doesn't take, you can roll through 13, pendings in 15, 20 minutes because everything's on a checklist and you just pull it up. Okay, ABC Banana Street. Their loan's approved. I'm just waiting to hear back for the appraisal. Good. Put that aside. There's no phone calls to make on that one. I go on the next one. So you can roll through 10, 12 pendings, taking care of it yourself.
Yeah,
Relatively.
it's awesome.
Yeah,
it seems like you're in a really good groove.
Well, I'm in a good groove for someone who wants to sell between 50 and 70 homes a year. That's not, as Neil will tell you, that's not, like anything in life, if you want to keep going up, you're going to have to change your behavior. And that's my message, guys.
Well, thank you so much. You're doing a great job.
Oh, I appreciate
Good stuff, Michael. Thank you. Great questions, Lauren. Thank you very much. Okay, other questions as we get ready to wrap this up with Michael today?
A question.
Go ahead.
What CRM are you using?
Gmail. I just use Gmail.
So you're not using Top Producer anymore?
No.
Got it. So you set it up on Gmail and
Yeah,
handle
I
it.
mean, it's just you're in my contacts in Gmail. And every time I talk to them, there's a place for notes. I just put in the notes. Boom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not, I know there's tons of things out there. There's but guys, if anyone's looked at Top Producer, you can spend your life trying to learn all the things that are involved in some of these CRMs and stuff. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing, right?
We're not?
I don't have any interest in doing that. All I want to know is the guy's name and number. Oh, here's Neil Schwartz. Great. I sold Neil and his wife a house 7 years ago. I talk to him once a quarter. I take a little note. Neil's doing great. Put on the deck on the backyard. Kids still play soccer. Jimmy's, find out his son's name so I can reference a couple things when I call him. And that's really all you need. I would encourage all of us to continue to keep it simple. It doesn't need to be complex.
Oh, that's great. Good stuff. All right. Let's unmute yourselves. Unmute yourselves, everybody. Let's give him a big, big hand today. Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My
That was
pleasure,
great.
yeah.
Michael, seriously,
you.
that was very, very good, down-to-earth stuff for all of us. We really appreciate it. Appreciate you. Look for me at the retreat. I'd like to buy you a drink and pick your brain a little bit more, okay?
That sounds great.
All right, looking forward to it. What we do now, Michael, is we're going to kind of go around the room for the next few minutes and just ask, what did we learn? You're welcome to hang with us and listen in. Or if you have a hard stop, we certainly understand it.
That sounds great.
All right, good stuff. Okay, good things. All right, what did we learn today? What did we learn from Michael Atkinson from Cleveland, Ohio? And you, I want to remind Alma to make sure that you put his name and phone number and contact. Oh, there it is. It's already there. Thanks, Alma. Appreciate it. Okay. What did we learn today? Josie.
Oh, I didn't know I was unmuted. You know, I like what he said about for sale by owners. I'd like to be your backup plan.
Ah,
We
great
just
idea.
talked about that yesterday. Neil.
Yeah.
And then he said something that I picked up from another mastermind group that I belong to. Make a note of the time they answer the phone on your card, because that's when they answer their phones. That's a great,
Mhm.
great tool. Thank
No,
you.
it's a
Michael.
great tool.
Thanks for your
Absolutely.
time.
All right, good stuff. Other things, what else did we learn from Michael today? Michael,
I have something.
go ahead, go.
I just think listening to him speak just really reminded me as a fellow analytical that you can have a really successful business by just keeping it simple, even down to not having a CRM and putting everything in a Google contacts and calendar. Like that's so simple, and he's doing really well by keeping it simple. So that's just always great to hear as an analytical that overcomplicates things. So thank you.
Awesome, fantastic, good stuff. What else did we learn today? Thanks, Monica. Other things. Well, let me tell you what I learned. And I hadn't heard it that way. I actually stopped him to talk about it. Our industry celebrates too much for just doing your job. And I had never heard it quite as succinctly. Michael, thank you. My group's going to hear that a lot.
Yeah.
They're going to hear that a lot. And I like the other thing you put in there, and I'm gonna add it to the things that we do. And I don't know that I say it enough. And the good news is we can do whatever it is. You know, the market isn't too terrific, and the good news is we can build market share. You know, the market isn't too terrific. The interest rates are higher, and the good news is that trained agents are going to make a boatload of money. I like that. How am I doing, Michael? Should I keep it up?
Absolutely. I mean, you can keep going and take it wherever you'd like.
I'm kind of coachable that way.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. Good. All right. Good stuff. All right, everyone, let's go give Michael another big giant round of applause. Thank you, sir. Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Great to be on the call.
Michael, I'm not kidding. Come find me at the retreat. I'd love to buy a drink.
Okay.
All right, buddy boy.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was great. Really cool. Linda, did you have your hand up? No. Okay.
I'm just waving.
Hi. All right. Eddie, you have your hand up?
Yes, one of the things I learned and that I like, it's when I call my database and I do ask like if they know anyone that could that will need my service, right, or need my help. Sometimes they do, but I never, or I wouldn't say never, but yeah, you could say never ask for the contact. They'll always be like, oh, okay, I'll let them know, I'll give him your card. And then we wait to see if we're gonna get that call. And
Never
we
comes,
don't.
does it?
No, sometimes it does, or sometimes it takes longer, but it's just a waiting game at that point.
Yeah, almost never comes.
But I like when he said, would you mind if I gave them a call? And that is an easy question, and that could change a lot of things.
Got it. All right, absolutely. Good. Okay, fantastic. I don't have anything else. Robert, you got anything fun for us?
Well, and this afternoon we got Frank, Rudy, Noel at 3:30. We're staying on the personality style work. We're going to talk about how to customize your answer based on their personality style. So that will be at 3:30. So we got open mic and more stuff, and then more stuff.
I like it.
Never ending, never ending. That's all I got.
All right, fantastic. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Frank, whenever you're ready, floor is yours. Oh, and then for everyone, just in case, because I know Monday is 4th of July. Tomorrow's a full work day. We got role play, open mic, class, whole thing tomorrow. And then Monday, we're also doing role play.